Here's Greg. Greg, you're on Ron Fez.
Hey, Greg.
Hey, guys. Can I suggest to Dave that whenever he's going to go out on a limb for some of these comments, maybe he does it through the puppet?
All right, yeah, let's go with that. What's your puppet's name today?
Roberto.
All right, Roberto is the only one that will really talk to today. Roberto will give his opinions for this point on. Basketball, when did the modern era start for you, Fez?
I'm going to say Lou Alcindor.
So not the great Celtics teams of the 60s?
No.
I was going to say Celtics, starting with the Red Auerbach era.
Yeah, I think you got to say the Red Auerbach era as the definitive place where it started. What about for you, Puppet? Where would you say the modern era started?
I believe it probably started with Spud Webb and the Atlanta Hawks.
See, now he's trying to be funny rather than trying to give us any points, though. Here's Mike. Mike, you're on Ron Fez.
Hey, Mike, go ahead, buddy.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
Esai convinced me that the streak is legit.
Yeah.
He said that, if you hit home runs over the course of 2 separate seasons,
yeah.
Well, that doesn't work because that's a single-season home run record, and this is just a consecutive game hitting streak.
Yeah, but what he's trying to say is he's confused. That's the main thing about it. Sean, you're on Ron Fez.
Hey, just to echo what Mike just said. Baseball keeps 2 different records: single-season streak and a consecutive game streak.
Right. So you're saying
they happen to be the same streak right now because 56 is insane.
You're in Philly right now, right?
Yeah.
Are the people pumped up yet for Rollins or no?
You saw him stuck around in that miserable opener, didn't they?
Yeah. So you're saying they're there for him, right?
They're far more behind Jimmy than they are behind the team right now.
Yeah, you're gonna have to. I mean, that's something that I've done many times in the baseball. Like when you know that you're 20, 30 games out, you can still find like I'm fucking pulling for this guy to go to the All-Star game. I'm looking for him to, get 100 RBIs. You got to find something to keep your season alive.
When the Yankees stunk in the early 90s, it was Mattingly was going for the Grand Slam record. That was the only reason to watch the game. It was just let's see if they can load him up for Donnie Baseball. That was the only reason.
And he got that Grand Slam record. 6 Grand Slams in 1987. A major league record.
What's his name, Fez?
Roberto.
Yeah, Roberto, who doesn't really have an Italian or Spanish accent. Still goes, back to the same thing. Howdy-ho. Taylor, you're on Ron Fez.
Hey, I unfortunately, now that I've heard him talking, agree with Eastside Dave about the whole 2-season split thing. I understand baseball keeps 2 types of records.
Right.
But say, in the NFL, you got an NFL team who only wins their last 8 games one season, then wins the first 8 of the next. That's 2, half-and-half seasons, and now they've got 16 straight wins.
Didn't something happen with that with the Patriots a couple years ago? Didn't they pull that off? How many?
I think the 19-game winning streak.
Is that the longest of all time?
I think so, yeah.
And you can't compare that record with the 72 Dolphins. That's the important one. That's the one everybody cares about. It just is. There's nothing we can do about it. I'm not even saying one team is better than the other. Here is Paul. Paul, you're on Ron Fez.
Hey, the three-point line in basketball, that's exactly when the modern era started.
All right, what year is that?
I don't know. I think it was 67, 68. I don't even remember, but that just spread out the offense better, so the guards got more points. And,
I would probably even go to the shot clock more than that, though. I think the shot clock changed the game of basketball more than anything else. Because they used to fucking sit on the ball and literally, like football, try to run the timeout.
All right, I think it was that famous game where Villanova won the championship.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm sorry, it was either that or NC State on the air ball.
Yeah.
People forgot they sat on that ball for 6.5 minutes because there was no shot clock.
Well, there used to be teams that would attempt it right from the word go, and you would have games that would be 7-6. So they had to fucking come up with something because it was a definitive way of playing.
Some people think modern basketball started with Dr. J, who was the first guy to
Roberto, you use a different accent every time you talk. There's no consistency whatsoever.
What happened to you, Roberto?
I need some sore throat lozenges. Make my voice high. There we go. And Dr. J would utilize dunks for strategy, not just to look good.
Here, I don't even understand what he means there. Here's Chris. You're on Ron Fez.
Hey, Miss Pup Friction Fez.
Me too.
Hey, I want to ask Fez Marie, when did the modern era of professional wrestling begin?
I would say the modern era started with Hogan.
See, there's still an era that came out of it after that, though, the Stone Cold, EC Dub era that's really, in a lot of ways, more modern than that whole Hogan stuff, which now you couldn't even watch any of those old shows.
Oh, no, because that was, in that era, it was squash matches for the most part till they finally got around to start having pay-per-views.
Yeah, so I don't see that really as being modern. It's almost like with basketball. You know, if you're watching a classic basketball game, if it seems nutty to you, that it's not the modern era. And that's why I know you love Babe Ruth, Earl, but I just can't even imagine a guy who looks and walks like that even being able to play in today's game. I don't see it happening.
Well, David Wells is very tall and very fat, and he's kind of has Ruth proportions.
Do you see him hitting 60 home runs a year?
No.
You see him playing every day?
He did make the All-Star team over 4 times.
As a pitcher, it's a whole different thing. Here's Mike. You're on Ron Fez.
Yeah, buddies.
Yeah.
Listen, I can see Dave's lips moving.
His ass lips is what's moving with this bad fucking character. Here's Chad. You're on Ron Fez.
Yeah, this Roberto sounds like Star Jones Reynolds when she did that Books on Tape.
Oh, yeah, it is kind of one of the Star... Let's listen to the Star Jones Reynolds Books on Tape. What was that all about, Fez?
That was Star Jones doing her autobiography called Shine.
Now, I saw Rosie O'Donnell just ripping Star Jones the other night on TV, saying, why does she act like she lost 200 pounds with Pleiades or whatever that thing is? Why can't she admit she's had the gastric bypass? And then she's going, why won't the other comics stand up to her and demand that she tells the truth?
Yeah, she was furious. I guess there was something on The View where Nabisco was the sponsor and they had a plate of Oreos, and Star said she was only going to have one because of her self-control. And she was furious with Star saying that, not saying, hey, because I'm stapled off, and furious with Joy Behar for not calling her on it.
Here's some Star Jones.
Shine by Star Jones Reynolds. Chapter 30. Time to get stapled. The days are counting down until my stomach's stapling. I am so nervous. They say 1 out of every 500 die right there on the table. I always thought that if I was going to die on the table, it would be a table at Denny's. My new husband, Al Killer Reynolds, he's been very supportive. He even had me get a new life insurance policy in case something goes wrong. He cares so much for me. He insisted that I name him and his friend Chico, the Guatemalan towel boy from his men's club bathhouse, as a beneficiary. I have received some bad news, though, from my stapling doctor. He has informed me that the procedure will help me lose weight everywhere but in my head. So no matter how small my waist gets, my head will still be the size of a hot air balloon. And it may even make me look more bug-eyed. I told the doctor, I don't care if my head looks like a grapefruit sitting on top of a Twizzler. I want to be skinny. Side note, send Al out to get more Twizzlers. My goal is to get scary witch skinny like Miss Barbara Walters. She looks like someone put a pantsuit on an old Slim Jim, and that's what I want. Side note number 2, have Al pick up more Slim Jims. But once I'm skinny, I'm sure Al Killer Reynolds will break his vow of celibacy with me. He won't be able to resist my trim body with the head the size of the Kool-Aid Man. Are we out of Kool-Aid?
Star Jones Reynolds with her audiobook, Shine.
Anybody want to explain to me why we thought that was so hilarious when it happened? Isn't humor funny where it only takes a little time and you go, what the hell were we laughing about?
Yeah, it doesn't take long to move past it.
Hey, let's go on to Owen here. Owen, you're on Ron Fez.
Hey, Owen.
Hey, guys.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that, your show's normally really informative and I learn a lot, but every time Eastside opens his mouth, I actually feel dumber.
Well, that's the point. We want to have some kind of balance here.
Yeah, but balance is one thing, but that's just, I can't even say
Yeah,
that.
you are dumber. Yeah, when you can't put together a sentence, we're making people dumber, Dave. That's what we're doing. And I blame Roberto, really, more than Dave. Jack, you're on Ron Fez.
2240.
Way to go, old school for us, home.
Hey, for wrestling, wouldn't you say that the advent of Georgia Championship Wrestling, so it was available on TV for everyone, was the start of the modern era?
It was definitely the change of an era, but I don't see it as this modern era.
And with that, it kind of falls into the Hogan thing, because right about then is when the cable wrestling was really starting to get huge, where you were getting all the different leagues from around the country, and then Vince brought in Hogan to carry the mantle of his WWF.
I'm going to still stick with EC Dub, because you broke the kayfabe, you stopped the silliness, and it changed everything. Paulie, to me, ushered in the modern era. Does he get the money for it? No, Fezzy.
No.
You know why?
Why?
Creative doesn't matter. Creative doesn't matter. It's the breaks and the hype. That's what matters for you.
Yeah, and they just broke that third wall. They had the matches were a lot more crazier, no refs. It was just an anything goes type of attitude.
I like this new modern era game, though. We could sit around and talk about it constantly. Let me ask you this. When's the modern era of women? I say when they start to trim the bushes up. When they finally got away from that 70s and early 80s bush, we became into the modern era. Here is Jeff. Jeff, you're on Ron Fez.
Hey, since you guys are talking sports, is Brett Favre going to retire?
Brett Favre retired 4 years ago. He still shows up for the games, and he still goes out there, but he is retired.
Did you hear Mark Chamora talking about Brett Favre?
No.
Very controversial stuff. Mark Chamora says Brett Favre is all about Brett Favre, and said he's very selfish. Brett Favre doesn't care about the team. Brett Favre only cares about Brett Favre.
Well, Roberto, he has a point there, because Brett Favre does seem to be taking a big swim in a lake called Brett Favre that he just loves.
He also didn't like that Brett Favre didn't show up for his trial. His trial, of course, was for banging an underage girl, so maybe Mark Chamora isn't a very reliable source.
So you're doing point-counterpoint with yourself, Roberto? Oh, Roberto.
Roberto's trying to smarten it up a little.
Andy, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, buddies.
Yeah.
I know you wouldn't mind making a big buck, right? I'll give you $100 if you set that puppet on fire.
All right, if I had the 100 in my hand, I would bash it, light it on fire, and chuck it out the window.
Please don't. I'm allergic to gasoline.
Let me explain something to you. I'll light a baby on fire for $100, so don't ask what I'll do to a puppet. Ziggy, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, buddies, how we doing today? The modern era wrestling did start with Hogan, but I think the ECW is kind of like the XFL, the way they did that with football. That's my parallel.
Okay,
with
nobody's commenting?
Oh, I know.
Here is Will. Will, you're on the Ron and Fez show. Yeah, how are you, pal?
What's up, buddies?
Yeah.
Only time I want to hear Fezzy talk about the modern era of wrestling is in a Ric Flair impersonation.
Whatever happened to that, Fez?
Haven't done the Nature Boy in quite some time.
Mark, you're on Ron and Fez.
Yeah, what's up, buddies? I just wanted to say something about the modern era about wrestling, and I think it was like the D-Generation X, Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart.
Where did they get that act from?
The Canadian wrestlers against
hold on,
D-Generation
Mark.
X.
Mark, where did they get that act from, though? That's when they started to copy the EC Dub style, right?
But the ECW, it's just like no one really got into it. It wasn't really that popular.
If you didn't have the ECW, and I agree with you that most of the people out there did not, but if you didn't have the ECW, you wouldn't have had the DX act. It just never would have happened. That's where they got it from. All right, we're going to take a break here. Back in a couple of moments, Fezzy, talking about the Pixies.